Well, welcome to Walk Through Voices. If you're reading through the Bible with us this year, following the daily walk reading, whether you're reading in your Bible or maybe you're going through with us each day on the Daily Walk podcast, this week we're kind of finishing up the book of Joshua and then turning the page into the book of Judges. And if there's two books in the Bible where there's a contrast, it's these two books. Book of Joshua, under his leadership, the people crossed through the Jordan River. It's pretty much a duplicate of how Moses took the people through the Red Sea, and it's great encouragement. Different leader, same God. That baton was passed well from Moses to Joshua. There's a lot of momentum at the end of Joshua. They've gone 31-1 in major battles. There's just so much that's going right. And then you turn to the book of Judges. And the book of Judges is the same cycle. The people learn and forget the same lesson over and over and over for 4 centuries. It's in a lot of ways a depressing, downer kind of book. As you read through it, you'll see that the people didn't drive out the enemies of the land. They conquered the major cities, but they didn't finish the job. They got comfortable, and pretty soon they're marrying people that don't share their faith and values, and they're just making these little compromises that undo everything. The book of Judges ends, and it gives the explanation of how did all 4 wheels fall off. And it simply says in Judges 21:25, in those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. The people you're gonna hear next week and you're gonna read next week, they decide they need a king, and that will launch us into the United Kingdom. But let's just stay here for a second. It's easy to think this is a national problem. If we just had the right leader. That's what went wrong. I mean, the writer saves us till the very end of the book. It's like you've ridden through a ghost town in Colorado, and it used to be a big mining town, and you don't know the explanation. And as you're leaving the town, there's an explanation why the population is now 0. Oh, the plague hit. Oh, the gold dried up. That's kind of what this does here. But there's actually a more important explanation than that earlier in the book of Judges. It's clear back in chapter 2, and most of us are not presidents, we're not kings. We don't set policy on a national level. But the failure that caused the problems in Judges was in individual homes and families. We read this in verse 8 of chapter 2 of Judges. Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. And it has details about his burial. But look at verse 10. It says, and all that generation also was gathered to their fathers. And there arose another generation after them who did not know the Lord or the work that he had done for Israel. There's the problem. It's not just we don't have a king. We need a king. It's not just we need more of these judges to be raised up. It comes down to individuals and individual families. And it says here comes another whole generation, and somehow that baton did get dropped, but it got dropped in homes, not in halls of government. A whole new generation came, and they not only didn't know the Lord, but it started because they didn't know what God had done for them. They hadn't heard the stories. And I'll tell you, if I could go back, and thankfully our kids are currently walking with the Lord, but if I could be a parent all over again. I now have all wisdom. We have 3 grandchildren, and I have great instructions for my son and his wife. But if I could go back, there's things I would do differently just because of that verse. We got sloppy sometimes. We ate too many meals, not gathered around the table, having a good conversation, but, we want to watch this TV program. Let's take our food into the den and eat it there, and you lose all that great conversation. The fact that so often in churches we scatter by age group, and we don't have the common input. Taking the time to go, hey, what'd you learn about in your Sunday school class today? Let me tell you what we heard in the sermon, and trying to tie those things together as parents and now as grandparents to realize it's at the family level. If kids and grandkids don't grow up hearing us brag on God, This is what God did. This is what God did. And some of them, they may get sick of the stories. We supernaturally got our kids after years of infertility. They've heard that story. They roll their eyes. They still know that God's the giver of all life. The time God provided for us financially, that rough job transition. Open up your life and share those things with your kids. And even if you have some regrets, like Ellen and I do, if He gives you a chance with grandkids or other people in your life that you can influence, grab every opportunity to make sure that it's never said of you or me, well, those who followed, they didn't know the Lord. In fact, they didn't even know His works. I believe God will give you an opportunity this week, maybe even this day, to tell somebody something that you've seen God do. Use the stories in the Bible, but also leverage your own experience. Stories are powerful, and you've got them, and I'm praying that God's Spirit will bring them back to your memory. We'll see you next time on Walk Through Voices. I'd love to get an email from you at phil@walkthrough.org, and let me hear how some of these story sessions go. We'll see you next time. Thanks.